If you're just getting started in filmmaking, then you might actually be a little bit intimidated by my next guest. Because it's not every day you get to talk to a filmmaker, but also a festival director at the same time. But don't worry, I've got you. Skip Shea is an amazing poet, painter, writer, filmmaker, and human being. He sat down with me while having a festival to run, because this was during MIF, which he runs, to share some thoughts and inspiration with you all. He's very passionate about getting people out there to just make a thing, and I am overjoyed to bring this interview to you. Without further ado, here's my interview with Skip Shea. I am curious about your origin story in the arts. What drew you first? Were you like, oh, I was a goof when I was a kid, or oh, I really liked writing when I was younger, or what was your origin story?
I was a drawer. I always drew. In fact, in third grade, I wrote an illustrated book that ended up hanging in the Worcester Art Museum. So I was born into this.
What pulled you into filmmaking specifically?
I loved theater and cinema at the same time. But my first love was theater. And oh God, let me get the year right, 2002 maybe, very late in life, I did a one-man show. I wrote a one-man show because I used to just do painting and I wrote poetry. And it was about my experience as a child with clergy sexual abuse. So somebody said, you got to get your artwork to New York. And I thought, if I could have if I knew how to get my art in the gallery in New York, it would be in a gallery in New York. Right. I don't know how to do that. And so I just said, you know what I'll do? I'll write a one-man show. So I wrote a one-man show that was about that, but it was also about Shawna and losing Shawna. And it was mostly comedy. So I wrote this, I started writing it in June of, I'm going to say 2002. And I was on stage in New York that December.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
And I'm like, what the hell am I doing here? Small black box theater, the Bowery Poetry Club. I love the Bowery, love that section, very near the Village, very near Washington Square. I mean, if I go to New York, that's where I want to be. I was reading the local Worcester newspaper, and they said they needed background acting for a scene at the Worcester airport. I said, oh. So I submitted, and my first time ever on a set, because even when I went to school, it was for theater, and although I didn't finish. Yeah. And I'm sitting there, and this person comes over, stand up. I'm dressed as a businessman getting off a plane. They turn around, say, okay, well, come with me. So I walked over, and we need to bump you up to the pilot. He's not here, and you would fit the wardrobe. So I'm like, okay. And then somebody came over to me with paperwork and said, you're a SAG, right? And I said, no. And then they went like this.
Yep, that stack of books does not apply to you.
I'm missing something here. I don't know what it is. So I asked everyone and said, who are the casting directors? But I mostly worked in the local Hollywood movies when they came in, background. I did audition, but I mostly did background. And then, but I watched so I could make my own movies. That was the real reason I was on set was to study, just to see how different directors behaved, how they set things up, how they worked with people. And there's, because of all the big movies that come through here, I'm talking the biggest names being on their sets. And it was fascinating. Then I just kind of threw away everything I saw that they did and made my own path with making movies.
That's awesome. And what prompted you, and I know that this is a sad story, but what prompted you to make this festival? Make this one and Shawna Shea Film Festival? Because you run two festivals.
We run the Shawna Shea Film Festival and the Massachusetts Independent Film Festival, but it's all under the umbrella of the Shawna Foundation. When Shawna died, she was 16 in a car accident. Her twin sister Erin and her classmates did a walk, and they raised $10,000 in a day for a scholarship in Shawna's name. So we had an organization immediately that was just for scholarships for graduating Uxbridge High School students, which was the town that Shawna would have graduated from. And would let the money dwindle because I didn't really want to. It was still very fresh. And then one year, in the middle of all this, I'm doing the one-man show. I'm doing, being on sets and starting making my own shorts. And one year for a fundraiser, we did a golf tournament. And I'm not going to swear, but I hate golf. I blanking hate golf. Like, it was the worst, obviously not the worst experience. That would be Shawna. This is second. This is so bad. I'm like, what am I doing? And I said, you know what? Why don't I just do a quick film festival? People can pay to submit. We can use some of that money for the foundation. So we were last year. This might be our 12th with Shawna. I've lost count. So this was one day, one block of shorts in Millbury, and now it's 2 festivals. At one point, we pared back this year, but at one point we were, in 4 locations, 5 days, and I think that's too much. We want to be able to just focus, so we're bringing it back. And plus, the foundation has grown into. We have the podcast. We have the Women in Film Fellowship. We still do the scholarships. We have a poetry program. We have an Underground Wednesday program. We have a Patreon page now. So we've just expanded. And actually, we did a pop-up art exhibit last year. So we're actually doing visual art. So we're growing immensely from that one walk. So we just keep growing.
That's so cool. So what would you tell filmmakers, especially since I know that you have a specific grant for first-time female filmmakers, but what would you say to all filmmakers in general, or to people who want to get into film but don't know how? They just want to get out there. What words or advice do you have?
It's just do it. That is it. We have this incredible knack to judge poorly everything that we do. Yes. Don't judge what you do poorly. We're going to give out awards tonight, and I'm going to stand up and say awards are silly because art is subjective. Because someone likes something better than something else is meaningless. It is absolutely meaningless. So we don't worry about approval. In fact, look for disapproval. Because then you'll be liberated, and it's just do it because the thought of doing it, we've already put all this pressure on that doesn't even exist and doesn't have to exist. You don't have to fall into any of that stuff. You don't have to make a movie that's a narrative that fits, a three arc story. You don't have to do anything. Just create. And it'll be fine. I really, my advice is just do it. And who knows what they're doing? Martin Scorsese says there's never enough money for him to make his movies, which is obscene to me. But that's because he keeps thinking, I can do more. I can do this. I can do that. So you'll never be satisfied. But don't try to put Hollywood standards on what you're doing, because they don't put those same standards on it that we do. Again, I saw something on Netflix when the window was blown out. They didn't care. Why do we care? Why are we saying, we are so critical of independent filmmakers more than we are Hollywood, when we should be celebrating the independent filmmakers and not critical at all. Again, without swearing, I'm just saying, like, F everyone else and make it.
What's one thing you learned on your journey filmmaking-wise, be it technical-wise or morals-wise or whatever lesson? Some big lesson that you would want to tell that you wish you could fly back in time and tell your beginner filmmaker self?
Actually, it happened on my first film, so I wouldn't have to tell my beginning filmmaker.
Okay.
I wrote this part, and I had this voice in my head for this character, and I had this person that I wanted to play it. And that person, she declined. So I asked another local actress, actually she's not local anymore, she's in Seattle, I think, Maria Mogavera. I said, can you do a British accent? She said, sure. And I said, okay, you want to be in my movie? She said, sure. So we did one read through. I'm not big on doing massive readings. because it's just short, and I'm more into the spontaneity of the moment. But that's a style. You know, it's not a judgment. So I'm on set, and we start to shoot, and she's speaking in a completely different voice than I had heard in my head, and it was a million times better than I could have imagined. So that's when I said, this is, you trust your actors to come here and do their craft. You don't say, no, say it like this. You let them go. Let them go. If it isn't what you're looking for, there are gentle ways to bring back, but it's trust the people you're with. Trust the people. Don't micromanage. Trust them.
What are your upcoming plans for the future in terms of art, vis-a-vis?
I'm right. I always write. I will always write. I have a film, Florence, my third feature-length film, Florence. It's finished post. Started submitting. So we'll see where that goes. It's kind of an anti-movie.
I like that. I don't know what that means, but I like it.
I'm tired of all the rules. So I did none of them. I tried to break as many as I could. And I'm tired of these really long movies. So this is like barely 70 minutes. Because I'm just, whatever everyone, because as soon as something is done and works, then everyone's doing it. Then everything looks the same. Like, why? I don't want the same. This is why I love what we do with both Mass Indie and Shawna Shea Film Festival, is that people submit like truly original things and out there things, because for some reason they feel liberated when they made it, and they feel safe submitting it to us. That was kind of, I doubt that this will get in many festivals, and I don't really care, because I'm making the statement that I want to make. And it's I used to make horror movies, horror shorts, and they were like very short and very graphically violent. And when I made my two features, everyone was like, what happened? So I gave the graphic violence in this one. So here's the scene you want. But it was fun. I mean, I did have fun with this movie. And after that, I mean, I will write. I may get back into painting, which is probably part of the reason why we're doing the pop-up gallery exhibits. Although some of them I want to show installation art with video art, to show then again that it's not. There are many different ways to make art with video that is beyond telling a story or beyond a documentary. There are a million different things you can do with it. So I want to show that as well. But I'm old. I'm getting old, and I want to just be able to. Sometimes, artists have something to say. I think I've said it. So now I'll just kind of create for myself. I will always create, but I don't think it will be for the driver purpose that I have with making film.
That's amazing. Do you have any parting words for anybody who's watching this?
Again, it's just create. Just create. I think, and this is part of the reason we do this, I think the more people that we can get to create something, the better the world will be. I
agree.
So just create.
I love that. Thank you for being here. Thank you for doing the interview.
Thank you for having me at my festival. Welcome. See you later.
If you enjoyed this interview, then please, instead of likes and subscribers, I just want you to hit up the link below to shawnafoundation.org. Look at the programs that Skip is running. It's an amazing amount of stuff that they're doing for this nonprofit organization. Instead of thinking about anything for my channel, just go there to his page and support what they do. Donations are tax deductible, and it would really mean the world to me if you would support the amazing things that he and his team is doing over there. It gives independent creators like myself and like you a home to submit your films to. You can't put a price tag on that. Aside from that, links for Mass Indies, Shawna Shea Film Festival, and the new one in Scandilia, Italy, is also all below. And I hope I will see you there sometimes in person, maybe. I just want to thank Skip for sitting down with me while I was crazy, punch-drunk, tired, and he was literally running a festival at the same time, and he made time to sit down with us and share his insights. Can't tell you what it means to me. Thank you. And for anybody else who is curious and fired up to get your films going, definitely check out my next video with actor turned director Diana Porter, who also has some amazing insights that will help you get started. So I will see you over there.